Evening, everybody. Duke here again now for Module 8 discussion over Chapter 12, talking about stress, conflict, and negotiation. So we're supposed to pick three out of the four questions and deep dive into it. So the first question is discuss stress and stressors. How do you define stress? How does a text define it? Where do your explanations overlap? Where do they diverge? Was your consideration of stressors as rich as the authors? What about interventions of stress? Stress to me, it's anything that causes your body to kind of freak out, kind of go in the fritz, outside of what you consider normal. Now, a lot of people get into a routine, so anything that causes that routine to deviate causes people stress, whether it be actual physical or mental or psychological. In the book on page 349, it talks about the different types of stress, individual, like individual stresses, and it kind of goes down a list: psychological, physical, mental health, behavioral. So like somebody's actual behavior affects your behavior, therefore everybody kind of gets off of the same vibe in a sense. Communicative, on that one, communicating too much, like I think the book mentioned people that are too much of micromanagers. They're over people all the time, so it causes people to stress out, and they're like, why is this person over my shoulders all the time? So those are a lot of stressors to consider about. And the book kind of goes over on page 350 about organizational ones, which kind of overlap into the physical aspect of things. Too much work, what that workload is, and it differs from person to person. Everybody has a different. I like to use the metaphor of a cup. Everybody's cup is different. It can handle. It is in different sizes when it comes to stress. Some people, you can have the same pitcher full of water or adult beverage if you like, and you can fill up my cup to halfway, but it fills somebody else's cup completely over spilling. So the organizational type of stresses, I see it all the time. Too much work, too little work causes people to stress out too. So you got to find the good medium in there. Random interruptions, it bothers me all the time. When this whole COVID thing happened, I loved being at home doing all of my work. Why? Because I was actually able to do all of my work and not be interrupted 1,000 different times by nonstop phone calls, nonstop people walking through the door and saying, "Hey, what's up?" or "Hey, did you hear about what happened?" and so on and so forth. I can list 1,000 different reasons why I rather much work here at home than at work. Mistrust from coworkers, I've seen that also, depending on the person. Sorry. Um, that's what I'm saying. Interruptions all the time. So imagine that it's work. Um, Career job ambiguity, inconsistent feedback for job performance. I've seen people do that as well. They're not getting enough stimulus, or they feel stagnant, so they move on, and so they're gonna find that new adventure that's gonna fulfill or fill up their cup just the right amount, so they can move on with life. Let's see here. I think I beat that one pretty hard. I was gonna dive into burnout. People not being able, when they're too stressed out, when there's just too much going on, they can get into the burnout stage. I think I mentioned on the chapter review talking about moral injury as being something also that causes a lot of people stress out at work environments, where they actually what they're doing does not actually fulfill their sense of purpose, but also it goes against their own moral compass. I've seen this a lot when I was training a lot of people, and how bad they just hated their job because it just didn't fulfill something deeper for them. So they had it wasn't necessarily, they mask it as burnout, but it's called moral injury where a person just doesn't feel like that's where they belong, for um or work and their supervisors are just so overbearing with wanting to do all of these things, and it just goes against what they feel is right. So anything again that just gets your core values in a sense misaligned causes people to stress out and get so stressed out that they just end up going through the motions. There's a lack of motivation, there's lack of intrinsic motivation, and they just kind of lose focus of what that career goal, mission, task, whatever. They just kind of lose sight of that. So it's really hard to get people back on the site. And I think a lot of that has to do with leadership and within our organization. Anyways, sorry for the tangent. I just had to go into that one because I do see it a lot, especially when I was training a lot of people. So, anyways, second question. Like stress, we frequently find conflicts in the organization. How is your definition and experience of conflict similar, different to the text? So military, there's a lot of conflict, especially personality conflicts. When you get into higher echelons of organization, like in my unit, I have 6 different team leads. They're all 6 differently. So one has a great idea to run their team this way, and then God forbid somebody disrupts that, and then all of a sudden you have 3 other people going attacking somebody else, and it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I've seen a lot of conflict. I've been in conflict within that with that idea of conflict, and I think it was in page 361. It talks about inner group and inner organizational conflict. Excuse me. You see that a lot in the military. The one thing I thought it was fun to kind of pick and choose between the 6 team leads was the difference of my own way that I engage with conflict between functional and dysfunctional. It was a fun exercise that I did internally, but I did find a couple of them that is very that I fall in line with the dysfunctional one, like a lot of polarization conflicts. Like I am just absolutely not gonna take that for an answer, and I'm like, what? Why? I'm one of those people that like to find out the root causes of things. Like, why am I thinking this way? So on and so forth. So, it does get into a little bit of a negative mood sometimes when certain people, but I think again it's just a conflict of personalities more so, and now I'm like more self-aware, and I think if something like this was actually presented to them, there'd be a little more like, oh, okay. Except for one person, I honestly think that this one person that I know of would be just completely like, nope, it's everybody else's fault but my own. I know everything. I am this person, and there's absolutely nothing you can change about it because what I say is ultimate truth. So aside from that, I think I get along with everybody else pretty well. And again, I think it's just that one personality. Thank you. That's what I was thinking. Personality. So, and again, I did the same exercise with the phases of conflict, going through the different things, and like, hey, knowing this type of stuff, I think it would have caught myself from kind of falling into that pitfall of being a manager or a middle management of just looking at things through different lenses. So I thought those 2 things would have been really nice to know beforehand. I was a fan of the conflict mode too, and the little square talking about the different types. And I kind of plugged in these different people in there, how they actually handle things. So yeah. And then 3, this chapter discusses conflict management. What are the concepts presented? Do you believe it's helpful in instruct and management? Conflict management again. Yeah, the pieces, the 4 no, four, five conflict modes, and not falling into some of those pitfalls where you I think things that have worked out really well for me in the past when it comes to conflict is just calling it the way it is. Like, hey, here's where I'm sitting at. This is where you're sitting at. Let's be adults. Let's talk this thing through. Because I think a lot of people just absolutely avoid conflict. I think it's a natural thing for people to avoid conflict, but at the same time, it's not productive in the setting of an organization when there are bigger things to worry about. I think one of the books I've come across before it talks about like type A team problems and type B problems. Type B's being like the overall, it's a team problem, an actual team problem where you guys need to brainstorm something, and then there's team A problems, which is between you, their interpersonal conflicts, like personality conflicts or task conflicts, where you just see things you want to get it done this way, but the other person doesn't, and that's actually what's holding up a whole entire team from getting to where they need to be at, to be worrying about those team conflicts. So that's why I've actually, as recent as last November, I've been with my team leads and saying, look, we have a problem. Let's just fix it. Because if we sit here and let it fester, and then we get in with our own little groups, it's just gonna make things a lot worse. And we don't need this type of environment with us junior enlisted guys around. We need to be in one big team. And I hate to say this, but like one heartbeat. So all of these airmen, junior enlisted, actually see us performing at a high level and being able to focus on them, because again, they're the ones that are going to take over for us when we're gone. Anyways, so yeah, long video, kind of my bad, but I had a lot to say about this because this is the type of stuff that I deal with on a daily basis with a lot of people. And yeah, I think stress and stress management's a huge thing that a lot of people should focus on, try to figure out what exactly causes that and try to get them to manage that. The book talks about several different ways about them. A couple of them I had no idea what they were, but it makes sense. Talking about more a holistic approach to things, trying to get them out of that environment. One thing that has worked tremendously well for me is going on 10-minute walks every couple of hours, just to kind of get my mind and be able to refocus on the tasks that I have throughout the day. And just having realistic adult conversations with other people. Anyways, I'll stop blabbing around. You guys have a good night. Talk to you guys later.